Good evening. Thanks for being here. We're going to call the meeting to order. Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. And next, our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a draft agenda in front of us. Can I have a motion to approve our agenda?
Amen.
Got Christy and Kelly will support. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. 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 Okay. Up first is recognition, our middle school students of the month. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. We will, our middle school admins have created a student video, and so we'll see that now.
This is Anna. Anna was selected as Student of the Month for her kind heart, her ability to include anyone in the classroom, her care about academics, and her love for school. Anna's parents are Jolene and Randall. She has one sibling, Joey, and she has 6 chickens, Daisy, Dorothy, Ruby, Rosie, Starry, and Snowy. Anna went to Lakes Elementary, and she likes to read, draw, doing crafts, riding, playing outside, and playing with her chickens.
I want to be either an artist or a vet. Favorite thing about school is orchestra. I would want to be with my family and pets. It means to me that I'm doing really good in school and I'm being respectful and responsible.
My name is Ian, and my mom and dad's name are Jennifer and Brian, and my siblings are Ellie, Addison, and Andrew, and I have a dog. Probably math and social studies. On a deserted island, I think I would pick my dad because he is helpful and he knows how to build like fires and stuff. Makes me feel proud and to keep up the good work, I guess.
This is Mackenzie. Mackenzie was selected for staying on task, participating in discussions, and trying her very best. She's always positive and happy, and her energy is passed on to her classmates. Mackenzie's parents are Mandy and Josh Brown and DJ Van Overbeek. Mackenzie has 1 brother and 3 sisters. She is the oldest. She has 2 dogs, and she went to Parkside Elementary. She likes to do competitive cheer.
When I grow up, I want to be a nurse or a doctor. My favorite thing about school is seeing my friends and my teachers. I want to be stranded on a desert island with my parents because they always know best and what to do. Being selected as Student of the Month means to me you're safe, respectful, responsible, and teachers don't have to tell you more than once of what to do, and you're kind to others.
This is Asael. Asael was selected because he displays responsibility in completing assignments and participating in tasks and respecting others by treating all his classmates equally and with kindness. Asael's parents are Lorena and Jose, and he has 1 sister. He has 1 pet, a dog. He went to New Branches Charter Academy, and he likes to play basketball and football.
I would like to be like some sort of engineer or mechanic because I like fixing things or learning new ways to fix things. My favorite thing about the school is that my friends, so I could talk to them and learn more about them, and my teachers. My parents, because they'd always help me during my life and they know what's best for me and what's going to work out. It reminds me that I'm doing good in school and paying attention to the teachers and my classmates and helping my classmates out as much as possible.
This is Alexis. Alexis was selected because she's smart and kind and works really hard to be a great student every day. Alexis's parents are Elizabeth and Eric, and she has 2 siblings, Tori and Chase. Alexis doesn't have any pets. She went to Lakes Elementary, and she likes reading, writing, drawing, babysitting, watching TV, and hanging out with friends.
I think I would like to be an architect or an interior designer because I love organization and building. My favorite thing about school is either English, math, or any of my extracurriculars. I would like to be stranded on a desert island with any of my friends because They all have really good survival advice, and they always keep me company. Selected as Student of the Month, it means to me that I did a good job as being a student, and I was successful.
May is a 6th grade student from our Farney and Nyholt team. Parents are Bethany and Anthony. May has one sibling named Ruby, as well as a dog named Ozzy. May attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in swimming, basketball, and plays cello in the orchestra.
When I grow up, I want to be an accountant. My favorite thing about school is orchestra. I would rather work at the perfect job than win the lottery, because then I can make money throughout my life instead of just getting it all at once. To me, being selected as a Student of the Month means that my teachers and people around me think that I work hard.
Will is a 6th grade student from our Farney and Nyholt team. Parents are Amy and Bill. Will has one sibling named Addie, as well as a dog named Lindy. Will attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in bowling club, baseball, stage crew for the drama club, and plays trombone in the band.
When I grow up, I want to be a baseball player. Probably my favorite thing about school is probably science, because we get to do so many good experiments. Probably work at the perfect job, because then I could gain more money gradually over time instead of winning all of my money at once. What it means to me is working hard enough and having other people see that I've been working hard.
Kaylin is a 7th grade student. Parents are Jody and Daniel. Kaylin has one sibling named Landon, as well as 2 dogs named Murphy and Zoe. Kaylin attended Valley View Elementary and is active in volleyball at NRMS.
What do I want to be when I grow up? I'm going to be an interior designer. My favorite thing about school is definitely how we have the opportunity to have fun electives. I would want to be stranded on a deserted island. My friend Bryn, because we never get bored and we're always crazy. It means a lot to me to be selected as Student of the Month, because it shows that my teachers think of me in a good way.
Cameron is a 7th grade student. Parents are Rebecca and Jason. Cameron has a sibling named Caitlin, as well as a dog named Hugo. Cameron attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in needle felting club, swimming, and plays trumpet in the band.
When I grow up, I definitely want to be an architect, because when I was a kid and I was building Legos, I always thought it was the coolest thing to build that kind of stuff. To be able to learn and connect with other students and being able to have a goal in mind. Definitely my mom, because she can provide a sensible point of view and calm me down. It makes me feel very honored that my teachers recognize my hard work.
Liliana is an 8th grade student. Parents are Beata and Seth. Liliana has a sibling named Maya, as well as a cat named Poppy. Liliana attended Roguewood Elementary School and is active in youth group and plays flute in the band.
When I grow up, I'm leaning towards being an entrepreneur and owning a business or two, but I'm also considering going into the medical field. My favorite thing about school is playing flute in band class, learning in science class, and just hanging out with my friends. If I had $1 million, I would save some of it for college, I'd donate some, and I'd also go on a vacation. Being selected as Student of the Month is a great honor, and I appreciate the fact that I was recognized for all my hard work.
Braden is an 8th grade student. Parents are Vivian and Ernesto. Braden has a sibling named Avery, as well as a rabbit named Maple. Braden attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in soccer, basketball, and plays violin in the orchestra.
When I grow up, I wanted to be a professional athlete, either a basketball player or a football player. My favorite thing about school is being able to hang out with friends that I usually can't at home. If I had $1 million, I'd probably treat myself with something and invest it. It means a lot to be selected as Student of the Month, and I feel like, I feel more appreciated.
All right. I think we have a few students in the audience tonight. If you don't mind standing up, we'd appreciate it. All right. Well, congratulations on your recognition, and to all the recipients. We, of course, welcome you to stay for the duration of our meeting tonight. But if you prefer not to, that's quite all right as well. And we'll pause for just a moment to give you a chance to shuffle out if you want to do that. Thanks for being here.
Getting
All right, up next is consent agenda items tonight. We have 4 items. Approval of minutes from our October 9th meeting. Presentation of bills in the amount of $13.8 million. Winter extra duty assignments and winter coaches. Can I hear a motion to approve our consent agenda items?
I'll move.
Jake moves and support. Christy? Okay, thanks. All in favor, please raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Okay. New business number 1, we have an administrative recommendation. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you, Mr. Folsom. As you're aware, Mike Cuneo is scheduled to retire. And we're sad by that, I might add. Over the course of the past several weeks and months, I've thoughtfully considered how to move forward and how to replace such a valuable member of our administrative team. My responsibility is to ensure that the administrative structure of the district has the right people in the right places to help us continue moving forward. I'm recommending that Allison Clements be approved to fill a position vacated by Mr. Cuneo. Ms. Clements currently serves the Rockford Public Schools as the Director of Finance. She has served the district for the past 3 years. She started as the Accounts Payable Coordinator, then the Director of Finance. She graduated from St. Mary's College, magna cum laude, with an accounting major. Before taking a position in Rockford, Ms. Clemens worked for the following companies: Spectrum Health as a senior financial analyst for 7 years, Spectrum Health, a senior accountant for 3 years, Crowe Horwath, an accountant in tax compliance for 3 years, and Price Waterhouse Cooper, oops, I just lost my place, for 3 years as well. And our goal is, as always, to bring the best person before the board. Ms. Clements is also a Rockford High School graduate and lives in our community. And earlier this year, Ms. Clements earned her Michigan School Business Official certification from the Michigan School Business Officials, which is the professional organization for the Michigan School Business Officials here in Michigan. Ms. Clements will begin as Executive Director of Business and Operations and will transition over the course of the 2024 calendar year to Assistant Superintendent. Her transition will follow this path. The Assistant Superintendent of Finance will be renamed the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations. Ms. Allison Clements, currently the Director of Finance, will be elevated to this position through an onboarding process that will take 12 months, the 2024 calendar year. Ms. Clemens will begin January 1st, 2024 as the Executive Director of Business and Operations with the following portfolio. She'll have the business office, which is office staff, business operations, and the 2024-25 budget. Food service, the bond work, and serve on the executive cabinet and cabinet. The following business operation areas will be added over the course of the 2024 calendar year. Transportation will be assigned temporarily to Ms. Corey Wilson Crawford and then transition to Ms. Clements by July 1st of 2024. Maintenance and operations will be assigned temporarily to Ms. Corey Wilson Crawford and transition to Ms. Clements in the fall of 2024. Technology assigned temporarily to Mike Graham. Review of the department through the calendar year 2024. Probable joint oversight between Mr. Ram and Ms. Clements at the end of calendar year 2024. Beginning in January 2025, Ms. Clements will have the full portfolio of responsibilities and will have her title changed to Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations. The recommendation this evening is that the board approve the recommendation to have Allison Clements named Executive Director of Business and Operations starting January 1st, 2024. The recommendation is also that after a 12-month onboarding process, Ms. Clements will move to Assistant Superintendent of Business Operations on January 1st, 2025. So that's the recommendation I bring this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. And can I hear a motion?
I move.
Kelly moves, and second? Got Nick on it. Any discussion, questions for Dr. Matthews?
Yeah, I would like to commend Mr. Cuneo on a long and storied career. I will celebrate you in a couple months, but I really appreciate we had a report on Grow Your Own last month, and I've always said from the table that, don't post a job for the broader public if we already have someone in mind. And this was a very distinct plan and program, and I appreciate that we've done that and that we've grown our own, someone who has gone out into the real world. And I will also say, a school business official is not an easy role to fill, and to have someone come in and bring a breadth of experience and then learn from arguably one of the best in the state is an excellent plan, and I applaud you for the decision.
Thanks, Nick. Anyone else? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Before we move on, Ms. Clemens is here this evening, and I don't know if she'd like to come up to the podium and say a few words and maybe introduce some of the people that are with her this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews, Board of Education and Central Office Administrators. I am so thankful for this opportunity to come back and serve the district that I so love. I have with me this evening all of my parents. I have my youngest son. I have my dearest friend, who is also a fellow Rockford graduate with me, that can support me. And my husband and oldest son are supporting our district out in Hudsonville at a basketball game. My seventh grader is playing it. So they are with me in spirit. So thank you again for this opportunity, and I'm so excited to work with you all going forward.
Thanks, Allison.
Glad to have you. All right, we're into new business number 2, our bond refinancing resolution.
And I will turn to Mr. Cuneo.
Yes, Allison, you gotta come back up here. So we're gonna tag team on this. We have an opportunity to do for refunding a portion of our 2014 and 2015 bonds. I'll have Allison go through a presentation. I know a number of us, members of the board, have not been through one of these processes in full, so I'd like Allison to go through some of the different concepts that are involved, and then I'll present the resolution to the board for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Cuneo. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this bond refunding opportunity that we have. But first, what is a bond refunding? The easiest way to understand this concept is to think about it like your home mortgage. So when interest rates are low, it's typically a good time to consider refinancing your home and save some money. Same idea with the bond refunding. So we replace our existing debt that is at a higher interest rate with new debt that's at a lower interest rate, and that saves us money. Another advantage of a bond refunding is that it allows us to restructure our principal and interest payments. There are 2 types of bond refunding. There's a current refunding and an advance refunding. With a current refunding, the refunding bonds are issued within 90 days of the bond call date, whereas with an advance refunding, the refunding bonds are issued more than 90 days from the bond call date. So how this works from a cash flow perspective is when the refunding occurs, the proceeds go into an escrow account, and the bank takes care of this for us. They put the refunding proceeds in this escrow account that's used to pay the bondholders of the old, more expensive bonds, and it also uses the proceeds to cover the cost of issuance. And that's all taken care of by the bank. It's not the district's responsibility. What is the district's responsibility are the annual principal and interest payments that are paid to the bondholders of the new bonds. So the district has this opportunity right now that we're preparing for a current refunding of our callable 2014 and 2015 bonds. Now, there has been a rise in interest rates in the municipal bond market recently. However, a refunding of these bonds is still projected to provide savings of $586,000 based on current interest rates. So if you look at the interest rate sensitivity analysis in the bottom right corner, there's the red box, and that shows that our current savings percentage is at 2.56%. And they say that the threshold that we should be looking for our refunding to make sense is for a savings of between 2 and 3%. So we're right within that realm. You can see here that if interest rates drop by even 0.5%, we could see savings of 4.94% or over $1.1 million. So this is something that we need to keep in mind, and why we are looking to get a bond authorizing resolution in place, because it allowed the district to move forward in a timely manner and capitalize on this opportunity when interest rates are more ideal. So the bond finance team is made up of our municipal advisors, and they work closely with our district and represent our district on all things bond financing. We also have our bond underwriters, and the bond underwriters deal with the investors who lend us the money. And then we have our bond counsel, and they work closely with us to make sure that we're complying with all state and federal laws. So this is the preliminary financing timeline, and you can see from this that this is quite a long process. It's about a 4 to 5 month process to get from today, which is at the top, to this bond closing, which is at the bottom of the slide. So just a few common questions that I want to address. The savings that we're talking about is shown net of the cost of issuance. So that's truly the savings amount of that $586,000 based on current rates. Now, if interest rates did rise to a point where it didn't make financial sense to proceed at that point in time with our refunding, we can put our bond refunding on hold while we wait for those interest rates to come back to a more favorable rate. And just so that you're aware, our bond financing team that I talked about a few slides ago, they do not get paid until the bond refunding process is complete. So that's great news. And then also with the credit rating, that's the only one where we have to be a little bit careful, because depending on where we're at in the process, if the rating has been issued or if the rating process is nearly complete, they could charge us a percentage of that fee. But that's why we have our financial advisors in place, because they can help us with the timing, and we can rely on them to potentially help us to wait closer to that bond pricing date to hopefully avoid any unnecessary fees.
So with that, the resolution that we have basically does a couple of things. It names the underwriter as Stifel and Nicholas and Company, and these are companies that we've used before. Names True Law as the attorney involved, and then PFM as the financial advisor. So basically the board and the superintendent and myself basically have to sign off on everything, but we have no certification to do this work, right? So these are the players that we have to bring on board to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's. The other thing is this also delegates the authority to Dr. Matthews, or the assistant superintendent of finance, in this case it would be Allison moving forward, at the time that this happens, to sign off if the market is okay and favorable to us as well. And a final two other things I would say. This will also set us up for maybe some potential future issues that we have from a bond perspective. And I do want to touch on the credit rating a little bit. I have certain frustrations with the crediting agencies because all the monies that Allison has talked about, we keep in a separate fund. We also have money streams that go directly to those funds. In other words, when you talk about the debt millages that have been voted on, that are approved by the board every year in terms of how we split it, those monies are based off of property values that have nothing to do with the questions that are asked from a credit agency, which focus more on the operations of the district, not the property, not the taxable value that is increasing in the district. That's true not only for Rockford, but for other schools in the state of Michigan. I think they missed the point on that. The point I'm trying to make is I think there's some inconsistencies with the way that they rate compared to where those monies are coming from and an understanding what those are, which I think skews things a little bit, which sometimes we come out on the back end or on the front end because they focus more on the general fund, depending on where it is. That's my editorial, but and I've talked about that in the finance committee as well, but I also say that for the benefit of the board moving forward, that the credit rating, while it is something that is very important, I don't think hits the mark on where Michigan school districts apply and get their monies from to satisfy the principal and interest payments of these bonds as we move forward. So the recommendation is to support the resolution to allow us to move forward if the market is favorable in the future.
So this is a resolution that needs a roll call vote, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. We'll start with the motion. I'll move. Jake, and support. Christy. Any other questions or discussion?
Christy Ramsey. Mm-hmm. Jared Folsom.
Yes.
Kelly. Yes. Jake.
Yes.
Yes. Nick.
Aye.
Okay, thanks everybody. Item 3 under new business, Edgerton Trails Elementary Classroom Technology bids.
Yes.
And we'll turn to Mr. Cuneo for this as well.
Yes, I'll try to be brief. This was also reviewed in the Finance Committee held earlier in this month, actually. And this is to support the classroom technology that we're looking at Edgerton Trail Elementary. Primarily, when we look at some of the technology, is the overhead projectors that we have, and also the infrastructure that supports some of that technology, and also intercom systems as such. So the recommendation, which was reviewed in the last Finance Committee, is for Hillard Electric in the amount of $406,273.39. You can see the bid tabulations in your board packet. Originally, they had a lower bid of approximately $385,000. There were some adjustments that were made when they reviewed the bids after the fact and the post-bid reviews that they missed some stuff, but ultimately they were below, they were still the lowest bid. And that is the recommendation of the superintendent.
So we bring that to the board this evening for Hilliard Electric for Edgerton Trails Classroom Technology.
To be paid out of the 2019 bond issue.
Yep, Christie move, support.
I'll support.
Kelly, any other questions or discussion? Nope. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks very much. Number 4, gosh, I can't see. Edgerton Trails Elementary Fiber Expansion bid.
This is connected to what we did previously approved.
Yes.
Mr. Cuneo.
So one of the things we have to do is extend our fiber optics up to the new elementary school. A little bit of history. Rockford Public Schools was one of the first schools in the state of Michigan to actually install fiber optics throughout the district. It was in the early 2000s, late 1990s, and this is an expansion of that. One of the things that we're doing is not just a direct line to Edgerton Elementary. We're building some redundancies in loops that comes out of our freshman center that then hits our main system, so that if we have theoretically, if we have a line that goes down in one area, we can loop it through another way to protect some portions of the district as well. It won't be 100% pure for the whole district, but this allows us for some additional things that we can do that we're incorporating the expansion to Edgerton Trails. The amount, the vendor, which is a low bid of AMCOM, in the amount of $274,550.08, and this will come out of the 2019 bond issue as well.
So that would be our recommendation to the board this evening.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll move.
Kelly?
I'll support.
Christie supports. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, thanks very much. New business number 5. Because I'm a resident in Saddle Ridge, I'm going to recuse myself from this topic and let Kelly facilitate.
Thank you. Dr. Matthews?
So we come because we need to connect Edgerton Trails so that we'll be able to facilitate the students and staff there at the building. So I'll turn to Mr. Cuneo, who will review this kind of resolution that we're coming to the board with to help us facilitate that.
Okay, bear with me here a little bit. There's a little bit of history that I got to pull with this, but so let's go back to 2006. To go that far back, but that's when we ultimately purchased this land that was in association with the Saddle Ridge development. At that point in time, this piece of property, when we purchased this, as part of the purchase agreement, there was an agreement that when we build a new elementary school, that we could hook to the existing localized, I would call it, wastewater treatment plant in water. Okay. Fast forward, we're now in the process of building Edgerton Trails Elementary, and we're in the process of actually developing an agreement for the use of that particular wastewater and water system. But one of the things I came across is the developer of Saddle Ridge, West Michigan Development Company, basically pulled the forces together to try to get that area hooked up to wastewater. Anytime that you can hook up to a public, and I say wastewater, hooked up to a public wastewater, anytime that you can hook up to public water, public wastewater is an advantage to any sort of entity. Anytime that we have found that there's been a privatized system as such, there's usually more costs that are involved over the length of the life of the building or the place than if you were to hook up to a public wastewater system or water system. So they were able to pull together ourselves, Saddle Ridge, and also Plainfield Township, which is the collection system sort of overseer. They utilize North Kent Sewer Authority. That is made up of 5 different entities. Cannon Township, Plainfield Township, City of Rockford, Cortland Township, Algoma, I'm trying to get my 5 here. So it's Alpine, Algoma, Cortland, Cannon, City of Rockford. Got it, okay? 4 of the 5 are in our district. Ultimately, they are part of the process that has to agree to this. So the first part has already been done. Plainfield Township had spoke favorably about this, and they brought it to their board to allow us to move forward with the concept. They approved that piece of it. The second piece is the resolution that you have here. This is a resolution to move forward with the draft agreement that was included in your board packet. I also sent out a separate email further explaining it in a separate email to the board. And basically that was the attorney's opinion as well, basically saying, outlining the whole process and that recommending that the board moves forward with this. Now what this does is this allows for us to move forward with the concept. The agreement that is in the attachment is a draft agreement. We still have some negotiating to do on a couple of things. What we're doing, though, is showing good faith that we want to move forward, so the powers that be will then pull together the information. What it's, basically getting more into the details of the materials that are involved, where it's actually going to go, and then also allows us to negotiate in good faith a cost-sharing agreement. Because the reality of it is the estimated cost is about $2.9 million. The district should not shoulder that full amount. That is a cost that should be shared between us, the developer, and also the development Saddle Ridge itself. This will allow us to move forward in negotiating good faith. We would then come back to the board with what we feel is a recommendation, okay, to move forward with that. And at that point in time, hope to have other information to say, here's the full scope, the design, what it's going to do, and the timing, okay? We are cautiously optimistic that we can get this done before the elementary school opens. But we all know, and we're a part of this too, there's a little bit of inertia that's involved with governmental entities in the fact that we have 5 different governmental entities that have to say yes to this to move forward. And the timing of that obviously creates some issues with the timing overall. I do think this is something that is beneficial to the district in the long run. There'll be more upfront costs, but these costs will then be avoided in the future because we are hooking up to a public entity, a public wastewater entity. So the other question is what if this doesn't happen? What do? We currently still have an agreement with or working on the agreement, utilizing the current system. There are some nuances with that. But we are currently piped into the water, which we are receiving. We're currently piped into the wastewater area, okay? We are just working out the agreements to make sure that if we go in that direction, that there are different cost sharing agreements or things that we have to fulfill to make sure we can operate accordingly. But I do believe that I think there's enough incentive with what's going on that we'll be able to come through with connecting to the public wastewater, okay? The local system would probably be something that I would think would be temporary until we fully switch over to the public wastewater. So anyway, the recommendation is to approve the resolution that basically helps us move forward with the draft agreement to better fully get the details, and then to come back with the board with not only what the final agreement is, but then also a cost sharing agreement that is satisfactory to the board as well.
So this initial resolution that we're asking the board to approve this evening is for us to move forward to reach final agreement, yes, which would come back to the board before everybody signed off on that.
Showing the full plan and cost sharing and everything. Again, I will say that the next phase, once this is approved, then it'll go to the 5 entities to see if they agree to bring us on.
And we can't get to that final resolution unless we have this resolution first.
Yep.
And is this a roll call?
And this is a roll call, yes. So we need a motion first and then a roll call.
I move.
I'll support.
Excellent. Jody, go ahead and take us to roll call.
Kelly.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I just say, you know, there's a lot of deer in headlights, and I've been paying attention. This is not a movie. This is like a 6-season series, and more than likely there'll be a season 7 and season 8. But all along the way, I think previous boards and this one have just asked that we be a good neighbor and a good partner. So doing this as one of 5 groups that have to sort of agree temporarily so it can move forward, I think is the right thing to do. So I won't pretend to be able to look through the 49 pages of legalese, but by all accounts, we've been a good neighbor, and I hope that that will continue. So I appreciate the work that you guys all do, and I know that this is a folder that hasn't left your desk in 6 years, you know, so I appreciate that.
It is important to note that if this doesn't come together, we do have a plan B.
Yes.
So Edgerton Trails will open next fall. Hopefully with plan A, but if necessary with plan B.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kelly, for that. And up next, new business number 6, our fall policy updates, first reading.
And I'll turn to Ms. Corey Wilson Crawford, who will, she has met with the policy committee, and these are the policy updates.
That's right. So twice a year, we get a set of policy updates, and then we take that through committee, and then we bring it here to the board for consideration. The way this will work is you get these first reading tonight. You have an opportunity to look at the policies, ask questions about the policies, make changes to the policies. And then during second reading, we'll have an opportunity to discuss as well. So this first policy for the fall, you're going to see one brand new policy. That policy is around administrative staff reductions and recalls. That's policy specific to administrators when we need to make reductions. We haven't had a policy like that before, so you'll see that there isn't any markup on that policy because it's a brand new policy. The next 7 policies after that are all revisions, proposed revisions of our current policies. Some of them have editorial changes, and if you look through 2370, you'll see really what the recommendation is to take an existing paragraph and kind of disperse it throughout the policy, just kind of rewording that. You'll see policy 7217 is a weapons policy. Our district actually went to different language than Neola's initial policy, and now Neola is catching up with the language that our district has actually had for many years. And you'll notice the citation on the bottom of that policy references 2 pieces of case law that have recently come out regarding weapons in schools. So that's why that policy is being updated. You'll see the next policies are all the 7540s. There's a policy for web accessibility for students and then staff. And that's our first stab at policy that deals with artificial intelligence or natural language processing software and what its use could be in schools. I anticipate that this will not be the only time we will see AI and natural language processing come up in our board policy. This is our very first stab at it. We know it's a quickly moving field, and there are a lot of things around AI and NLP that we maybe don't have a grasp on yet. So I anticipate in the spring policy update, this policy will be back on for further revisions based upon things that might happen between now and then. And I think we'll see this policy as a regular as the world of education kind of figures out, you know, what makes sense for AI and NLP as part of our school atmosphere. And so I think you're going to see that. You'll also see that policy 8531, which is about free and reduced lunch meals, is coming online to get more in line with Michigan school code now that we have had some changes to the universal free breakfast and universal free lunch programs in the state of Michigan that are federally funded. And then you'll see the last policy update is 9130, which is a public complaint policy that deals with curriculum materials, and there's just a small change in that policy to have some of those book challenges and things of that nature go to Mr. Ram's office instead of my office, since he's in charge of instruction. That also mirrors what other districts have. It's typically not the HR person that is engaging in curriculum design and delivery, usually it's the instruction person. And so we just made that change as a proposed change for you as well. So you've got the whole gamut of what those changes look like. They're highlighted in red and green in your packet. And if you have any questions at all, I'm happy to take some of them now. I'm also happy to meet with you if you have specific questions. You can shoot me an email, give me a call, we can set up a meeting and go over any of the questions you might have around these policy recommendations.
So we're not asking for action this evening. You're presenting this to the full board. It's already been discussed in the policy committee. And it would come back to the board in December for approval. Between now and then, if you do have questions, you can reach out to Ms. Wilson Crawford, and she will be able to facilitate answering those questions. And but if you do have questions tonight, we can certainly entertain those as well.
Thanks, Corey. Any questions for Corey?
Just a comment on the free lunch policy. I'm hoping we don't have to change it in the spring. This weekend I was in Lansing, met with some folks from Mesa as well as some other representative groups. Our legislators are opposing what is a bill moving through right now that would require the form to be filled out by everybody. And for obvious reasons, not everybody needs to fill it out or wants to fill it out or prefers not to, and some are really adamant about it. So there's a fairly good chance that the law will change. We'll see what happens with 2 representatives sort of vacating their offices. So there's a tie right now, but based on what could happen, it could possibly impact that policy in the spring. But I do want to mention that our representatives, both our senators and our rep, are opposed to this, or I'd be asking for help. But right now, our region is mainly opposed to this, as are many folks outside of Southeast Michigan. But right now, I think it has the votes. We'll see what happens with the 2 empty seats. So I just say that now.
So just as board trustees are looking at the document, we didn't actually select, and you can see that we didn't check the box that says requires. So we could check that box, but the committee's recommendation to the whole board is not to check that box. Right now, it is required that districts make a good faith effort to have people fill out the forms. And what Trustee Reichenbach is talking about is if the state requires us to make people fill out the forms, then we will have to revisit this policy because we didn't take that option. Right now it's an option, it might not be an option in the future.
Yeah, thanks, that's helpful. Other questions for Corey? Okay, thanks, appreciate that, and encourage you, if after you've had more time to look through the first reading changes, reach out to Corey with any questions prior to next month's meeting. All right, that's our new business. We're into reports. Item number 1, our student representative, come in.
Hi, I'm Camille. I'm the student representative, and I would just like to say we just finished our first trimester. We're on to our second trimester. First, I'd like to recognize the band because they won state, and then last weekend they went to nationals in Indiana.
Yes.
Yeah, in Indiana. We had an art show at the Rockford High School last weekend on Saturday. The cabaret shows were amazing. Little Woman was a huge success for the play, and Mamma Mia auditions are this week. Fall sports, I think, all wrapped up on Saturday, I think. Girls rugby were state champions, boys water polo were state champions, girls cross country was 16th in state, boys were soccer regional champions, boys football lost last Saturday but had a great run with district champions, girls golf were 4th in state, girls volleyball were regional finalists, and dance were regional champs. So lots of wins. This is kind of what's going on as a wrap to the first trimester. We had our trick or treat, which was really fun with all little kids around the district. And this week we will put up all of our decorations, and we do this thing called Winter Wishes, which is really cool. Everyone in the whole school gets a slip, and you get to wish another student anything that they want. And the first thing is needs, anyone that needs like a coat or some shoes. And then the other things are fun things to get us through the year, that long stretch of January, February with no breaks in between. And then this Friday is Hardwood Hysteria, where the basketball teams work with the little kids, and it's really fun too. So I think that's it. If you have any questions.
Questions for Camille? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good things happening. Next, we've got a few committee reports lined up.
HR?
You want to go first? Yeah, we'll do HR. Right.
So as the HR committee chair, one of the things we covered is the superintendent evaluation process. And this is an exciting obligation for the board once a year. And I'm just going to kind of outline a little bit of what we've been through so far. On October 3rd, every member of our board took the MASB evaluation class together. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us in the process of learning and investing the time and understanding how the process works. On October 27th, Dr. Matthews provided us with his self-evaluation. Board members have provided their evaluations back. And this Wednesday, November 15th, the HR committee, Nick and Jake and I will join together to review the consolidated reports. And then on December 11th, the next board meeting, we will present the community with the final evaluation. And so it's really exciting, and we thank you for joining us in this process. And we are incredibly grateful to the whole board for joining us on the educational process of learning how to do the process. I'm going to defer to Corey on any additional pieces from the HR committee meeting, because I felt like we mostly talked about the evaluation process.
The only other thing that I think was on the agenda was just an update on some of the para laws that are coming out, changes to the way and the things that we negotiate. And so we'll do a board negotiations session at an upcoming meeting where we'll give information on that. A lot of that is in its infancy right now and won't take effect until March of 24, which is right around the time we start bargaining. So there will be definite changes in the way we do some of the things, and we talked a little bit about those. That's really all that was on our agenda.
Excellent, thank you.
Great. You want to go next?
Sure.
Policy, Christy?
There's not a ton actually to cover, since it's pretty much covered everything. A couple things that I will point out, just the weapons policy. That's something that Rockford has always really been proactive about, making sure we've always had signs up in our schools since I think Michael is my second oldest son is in first grade, so about almost 13 years we've had signs up posting we don't want weapons in schools. The second thing that I kind of point out is the new language revolving kind of around the AI portion and what does that look like. And I think it's really, the discussion is mostly about how we teach students to use technology in appropriate manners and how we can help benefit them versus using this particular technology for them not to learn something, for them to kind of plagiarize. And it's also, kind of surrounds the discussion for teachers to then use these different technologies out there to help them with the projects and the goals that they're doing. I think it's about having a good conversation about responsibility for our students and teaching them how to do that. Outside of that policy, everything else is pretty much just a first read and everything. Any questions or comments?
Good, thanks, appreciate it.
I have a question for
Yeah.
Kelly on the last. So next board meeting, there will be like an hour and a half where we have a closed session, is that correct? So are we starting at 5:30 and then having the public come later? Is that the game plan, or do we?
We'll start at 5:30, the normal time. We'll move to go into closed session to complete the.
Also after?
After we open the board meeting, we'll move to leave and go into closed session.
Okay.
Same meeting, just move to closed session. We'll handle superintendent evaluation. Then we'll move to exit closed session and come back to the public portion of the meeting to finish the agenda.
So do we let the public know then kind of what time to come?
Well, it's a little hard to say. So we don't know the duration of time we'll spend in closed session. I think we budgeted
like an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and actually,
could be less, I
yeah.
suppose. It kind of depends on how much discussion there is, and
those
it could
details
take
are
longer.
outlined too in my November 3rd email to the board.
Okay, great.
Like step by step what that.
Okay,
looks like.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So I'm going to cover the curriculum committee meeting chaired by Tricia. She's ill today. That's why she's not here. So we met on the 13th with my Graham and team. Tricia is the chair, myself, and Kelly. The notes were shared after the meeting and are in the board packet. There are just a couple things I was going to highlight. In the discussion of our professional learning communities model, part of that was, how it's going with our additional early release days. And the feedback that we're hearing has been really positive from the buildings. And the board feedback, what I wanted to highlight tonight was just, we asked for the team to continue to communicate to parents kind of the what and the why of those early release days over the course of the year. So, but otherwise, good feedback there on how that's going. And then the next item was NUIA the testing calendar revision. So there was a change. So the state has reduced the NUIA testing from 3 times a year to 2 times a year. And so the team kind of took us through the adjustment to the testing calendar, which was good news all around. It's less testing, and we're able to meet state requirements, do NUIA a little bit earlier, and use that result to then adjust instruction for end-of-year testing for MSTEP. So less testing and also better timing without losing the ability to kind of see how we're doing year over year and comparative nationally and those sorts of things. So good news there. Social studies review is in the process, so we're happy to hear about kind of that next piece of curriculum work happening in the middle school social studies area. The board feedback that we provided was really just thanks for sharing the resource details for us to review. So if anybody's curious about that or wants more information, encourage you to reach out to Mr. Ram to get more details on that. And then there was a discussion for secondary grades, Protect lesson planning. This came up after positive feedback from a DHK, Developing Healthy Kids event. And so we had good discussion on this, and the board feedback was this is a good area to focus on. We just asked that as the team moves forward to consider ways to be more comprehensive, recognizing we don't have unlimited instructional time to spend on things to add to the day, right? So there's constraints that we're under, but like this subject area, there was great feedback from this and from the community in DHK and how can we bring this to students. ISD has a good program, and so that was a good discussion we had there, and that was it for me. Questions on curriculum stuff?
I just want to restate that we're still maintaining the MSTEP process, but we're also still maintaining the NWEA process, which allows us to forecast student achievement. And MSTEP is like looking at 4th graders in 2022 and 4th graders in 2023. So we kind of get a sense of how 4th graders are doing. NWEA stays with the student. And it's such a benefit to all of our educators to have testing that stays with the student and allows us to kind of forecast where we're headed. And I think that this new approach is thoughtful and reduces overall testing, but lets us keep the best of both worlds. So thank you.
Thanks. Okay, that's it for committee reports. And just thanks everybody for the reports and for your active participation in the committee. So it helps us kind of stay on top of what's coming, what's happening, and ask questions along the way. So we appreciate that. Reports number 3, I guess we're up to collaborative team reports. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you. Tonight we have an elementary and a secondary team report. And the elementary report will be Kyle Avink, principal at Crestwood Elementary.
Dr. Matthews, Board of Education Central Office staff. I am here on behalf of the elementary cohort just to update you on a few things that have been going on in the elementary world. So first of all, we wrapped up our Halloween celebrations at our buildings. We had a great time doing that. It's always fun to see the kids dressed up and have some fun throughout the day with those pieces. Last week, we wrapped up parent-teacher conferences. We have an opportunity at the elementary level to offer in-person conferences for parents that want to come into the building as in-person, as well as some virtual options for those families that might work a little bit better for their schedule. Those went really well, and at the elementary level, as you can imagine, we have great participation with our parents. Our teachers, have had the opportunity for some continued professional development right here in the district for math. So they've done that right here with Maggie Thalen. She's done a great job coordinating and facilitating that work with our teachers, and they've been able to come together as grade levels across the district to be able to participate in that. So that's been a great opportunity for them. Along with that, we're about 3 months in now for the school year, and we have had some huge celebrations already for our PLC time that we have on those Wednesdays. You know, we spend a lot of time digging into what a PLC process looks like at the school level and the district level, and I can speak on behalf of all the administrators, especially at the elementary level, and it's been a really, really cool opportunity to be able to sit in and really dig into that work with those teachers, and that they truly have been digging into the work during that time. So we appreciate that schedule, that we've been allowed that time, and it's been incredibly beneficial to our teachers and our students so far. We have holiday concerts coming up. That is something that we split up with our elementary buildings, and it's kind of an on year and off year. So some of our buildings do holiday concerts in December during the holiday times. Some of them do them in the springtime. So we have those coming up for some of our schools here as the holidays are approaching. And then finally, we have our STEAM Community Night that's coming up actually tomorrow. We're hosting that from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Freshman Center, and it's an opportunity for us to just take a look at what our STEAM program is offering up to our students in our buildings as a district. That is something that we've developed and grown here at Rockford, and we're proud of that, so we wanted to be able to put that on display for our community members as well as our parents. That's all I have for you. Any questions for me? All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. And our secondary report is from Adam Burkholder, who is the principal at East Rockford Middle School.
Dr. Matthews, Board of Education, Central Office. Appreciate the opportunity. Welcome to Try 2. As Camille said, at the middle school level, it's a little less intense. They're more unit test based as opposed to exam based. But today marks the beginning of second trimester. Starting at the middle school, looking back at the fall season, when you look at overall co-curricular involvement, whether that's theater, athletics, clubs, between the middle schools we had, if we round it up, it sounds more impressive, 50%, but true number is 46% of our students, 6th through 8th grade, were involved in something at school, after school. That doesn't take into consideration the number of students who are involved outside of school hours, as we have a very involved community. So 46% is a pretty impressive number. Those numbers will go down a little bit just because of the types of sports that are offered in the winter seasons. And in the spring season, both east and north, about 25% of our kids will run track. So that number will tick up a little bit in the spring. Also the middle schools, and Camille brought this up, in celebrating the bands and their successes. When you look at the foundation that's built at the middle school level between Cullen at North and Rebecca at East, we've got some pretty incredible individuals at those levels. So it's no surprise that the success our high school is experienced because of the foundation that has been built. And Rebecca Kilgore last year presented at the state conference, and after being asked to present at the state conference, and I had the opportunity to go watch our students perform and her present, and it's very telling when you have staff or teachers from across the state taking pictures of her slides, like, oh, like this is how she does it, this is how they do it. But in continuation with that, she was also asked to come speak and perform. Our 8th graders are going to perform at the national conference, which is in December, at the McCormick Center in Chicago. So it's a big deal. It's a worldwide event. She roped me into it. I said yes if she got accepted. She got accepted, so I will be chaperoning the middle school trip 2 days before the holiday break. So looking forward to that. We're going to get pizza out of it. We're going to go see Blue Man Group. It's going to be great. And most importantly, we get to watch our students perform. Between the high school and middle school levels, Kyle spoke to it already with PLCs. When you look at the output on our early release days, and I know we know that those are an inconvenience for not as much at the middle school and high school level, but certainly at the elementary level. But when you look at the outputs of our staff, the best way I can frame this for you is, it used to be when it came to PLC days, which is our business model now, staff would be coming to us and saying, all right, what do you need us to do? Now they're telling us, so like, we only have an hour and a half. Don't give us anything more to do. Here's what we're going to be doing. So that paradigm shift of here's what we're going to be doing. And it's either unpacking standards, it's developing assessments, it's reflecting on data, it's putting kids into what are tier 2 interventions or tier 3 interventions. Like, it's up and running. It's incredible to watch, and you can go from a math meeting to an English meeting, and the conversations are parallel. So again, we thank you for that time. It's been a blessing, and had we done this 2 years ago, it would have been done 2 teachers, but now they realize the benefit of it, and they're maximizing those early release days. At the high school level, looking back to last month, and we appreciate Ricky Clark spearheading this, every single student took the National Merit Qualifier Test, the PSAT, and usually it's a select group of students who apply and want to do it, so you'll have anywhere from 30 to 50 students who will take it. All of our juniors took it, and the reason for that is this year it's the College Board switched the PSAT and SAT to online, PSAT online. And they were our guinea pigs. They figured it out. It's very efficient. It went very well. And in looking at time, the benefit of this is in the spring, if you recall last year, we kept our 7th graders home because you had to have a testing environment. You had to have students 3 feet apart. And you can only fit 30 or 25 students in a classroom. You had to have 2 proctors. A lot of that goes away now. So rather than our 7th graders being out of the building, our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will be in the building at the middle school level. So it's one less day. We use it as a job shadow day informally, and a lot of students took advantage of that, but bottom line is they're going to be in school, so that's a win. And lastly, and Camille pointed to this, the championships over the course of the weekend and in the last few weeks, the one specifically which was fun, I was up in the press box during the football game, and Tim Soar, who sits behind me and was doing statistics, he's had boys who both played water polo. So he had the game up. It was in the first quarter of the football game, towards the end of the water polo match. And he's like, oh, we're up 11-7, there's a minute left. So I turned around like, I don't know enough about water polo. What are the chances that they could come back? He's like, oh, it's not going to happen. It's almost impossible. Well, with the 33 seconds left, the other team was down by 2. So we're up there, we're listening to the game, we're trying to run the scoreboard. Bob Wells is announcing, and Bob Wells, having the tradition of starting the water polo program, was super interested. But it was really neat when we won it and Bob announced it, which he was very excited to do so, just the reaction of the crowd. Water polo isn't one of the community sports, but anybody who's watched water polo and treading water for an hour without drowning while somebody's trying to drown you is impressive. But it was neat to have that captured audience at the football game cheering on our water polo team. I wish I would have filmed it, but hindsight's great, isn't it? So that is it for secondary update. Are there any questions that you might have for me? Appreciate your time.
All right. Last report of the night is our MASB annual conference. That's me and Nick. Maybe do you want to go first, Nick, or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm one of those geeks. I like the conference, but there's some of the side conferences, the mini conferences that occur, and my favorite, frankly, I'm not a lawyer, is the Council of Michigan School Attorneys Conference, and it's just super, I don't want to say fun for everybody, but I enjoy it. But the topics in there, and if you had been listening already, we've mentioned artificial intelligence, AI, NLP twice. This is the third, and obviously it's really comforting to know that we get our packet, and we already have a policy that has AI in it. AI was one of the topics that they covered, and it was really interesting because the gentleman that spoke, his most recent position before he joined the law firm was he worked for Lincoln Consolidated Schools. So you had a middle school teacher / administrator who now is an attorney, and he's an expert in the area of AI. It was very interesting, and I think the end result of it is that we will all have that policy memorized because it will change a great deal over the next many years. But it was couched in a very positive manner, and just stay tuned because I'm sure we'll see some of the broad changes that will occur from that. Also in there was Title IX update, sexual harassment, gender things, and all of these topics that basically cover either ongoing cases, recently decided cases, general movements, and while they focus on our Circuit Court, which is out of Cincinnati, they always mention the other federal cases that are ongoing, and in particular interest are those where there's a conflict in the court in Georgia versus the court in Cincinnati, which is ours, versus the one out west, and so on and so forth. So watch for some changes there. The Supreme Court would definitely be hearing things in that particular area in the case of Title IX. The other one was para, Corey mentioned. The legislature had all these prohibited such as bargaining that we've covered as a board. So there was just nuances and talking points on every one of those, and really again, the impact for us here immediately is not great because Corey and the staff and the administration have already been on that prior to the legislature actually pulling the trigger on that. But part of that too was notification on some of the issues for school business officials around the Office of Retirement Services was a whole nother area, and some interesting cases there. I don't think Mr. Cuneo has changed his mind on retiring, but on a serious note, there are major impacts to a school district on retaining good people in administration, because the retirement calculation is basically saying that you get your bump in salary for retirement purposes. Pretty much the incentive now is to leave and go someplace else, get a raise, and just hop around, which is what my industry deals with today. I expect that the courts will see that. It's basically been punted back to the Supreme Court, but just watch for that. It probably will. It is really something that Dr. Matthews and Corey will have to address shortly. And then there was a whole bunch of topics on legal issues related to actions of school board members around the state. All of these sections and all of the material I've scanned, and it's in a shared folder that Jared had put together for us. So watch for that. We'll email out to the board where it is, but you have access to it now. It's a subfolder and it's in an area that you have in Dropbox. I did that this morning. So back to you, Jared.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, just to pick up on that. So Thursday to Saturday in Lansing, this was the first time I had attended. I didn't attend last year. I thought it was very worthwhile. So in that 3-day period, I attended 14 sessions. As Nick said, if you go to Dropbox reference documents, you'll see an MASB ALC folder. And in that folder is most of the sessions provided there, like PowerPoint material. So we downloaded, put that in the folder. I created a kind of a notes doc, and that's in there as well. So this is just a table list of the sessions we were in, just to tick off some of the topics to give you a flavor. I was in a session Thursday around board operating procedures. We're kind of ahead of the curve on that. There are a lot of districts that have it, a lot of districts that don't, but I was interested in kind of seeing and got my hands on some really good examples from other districts. So as we kind of look ahead to how that might continue to evolve for us, I thought that was an interesting one. Effective board meetings was there as well. The keynotes were great. There was in this list online are hyperlinks to other things that were shared with us. So it might be a TED Talk or a book recommendation or a website with more information. Anytime they shared a link to something, I tried to scrape those into this here as well. But really interesting discussion and book about Mr. Rogers and his kind of philosophy and approach to education, which was phenomenal. We got our hands into the Michigan school data, so that's linked in there too. Got to play around, got sent kind of a guided walkthrough of that platform. Talked about AI was a big topic. Collecting student voice, equity-focused leadership, the legislative updates that Nick talked about. We got kind of a skinny down version of that as well. A session on nutrition and food service, and then a student panel discussion. So time well spent. I just encourage you to take a look at the material that's in there. And if anything catches your eye and you want to talk about it, this will show you which sessions we were in and the materials there. Be happy to chat with you anytime. And hopefully this is a useful reference to us going forward, as we're kind of working through things that may refer back to some of those same topics. And it's good to have a sense of what MASB is kind of putting forward and what others from school districts around the state are doing, and so that's my update. Any other questions, comments? Yeah.
I just had one more thing.
Yeah.
In the legislative update, again, our representation, our two senators and rep are already on this, have voted appropriately, or at least the way our district is. The biggest thing to watch is FAFSA, so the Federal Application for Student Financial Aid. Representative Camilleri from the east side of the state, he's not replied to my emails, but as a former teacher, I don't know why he's pushing this, but they're moving to require for graduation, which has nothing to do with student academic steps, the filling out of the FAFSA form. I say this with some emotion because anybody who's gone through this process, even when both parents are completely aligned, is invasive and difficult and challenging to do. I can imagine what families that have multiple sets of parents, etc. All of our representatives, whether it be the School Board Association, the superintendents, business officials, Secondary School Principals Association, all of those are opposed to it. I don't know where the teachers stand right now. It seems like they're going along with this, but right now it's a freight train. It's passed the Senate right now because of the tie. They can't do immediate effect, and we don't know where this is going. But if the community has folks on the other side of the state or friends or grandparents, we need to really change this, because while I'm referring to the impact in a household, just remember a student can't graduate without filling out this application, and he has to have both parents do it or at least open it up to it. But it's also the impact to the district. We have to supply reports. We have to create all of these capturing mechanisms inside the school. This is just an enormous amount of overhead to do this. I understand the benefit. Students might miss out on the opportunity for some scholarships if they don't know about it, but a requirement for a part of graduation. Spread the word, talk to your friends, anybody in Michigan, because I find it to be one of the most ridiculous things I've seen since I've been on the board. So we're fighting that here. We're in a good spot, at least for our district, but if you have friends, please reach out to them on that. That's it.
Yeah, just quickly say on that topic, I'm personally, I'm not in favor of making a requirement for graduation. I think, as you mentioned, there's a lot of federal aid dollars that go unused every year, and so the intent is to not have that happen, because there are kids who think I can't afford it and don't know about, don't pursue aid or college, and there are a lot of stories of kids who do fill it out and find out they are eligible for aid and end up going to college. And so they're just trying to amplify that and not leave money on the table year after year, like to the tune of many tens of millions, even $100 million or something like that annually. So it's a good goal to have, but it does look like it would create a lot of administrative burden.
Yeah.
There is an opt-out process and procedure for a student and their family to kind of opt out of filling out the form, but that is sort of looks like right now a convoluted process. So they're trying to pursue the goal through other incentives and things of that nature that stop short of making it a mandate for graduation. So.
Yeah, and we do a decent job here in this district of exposing people to it, but really they're targeting those that may not have the structure that we have in place in our secondary. But I made a big deal out of it because it just I just found it I find it amazing that it has nothing to do with academics.
It would be an unfunded state mandate. It's another one of those. Good stuff. I appreciate that. And again, if you see anything on the Dropbox that you want to talk more about, feel free to reach out. Okay, that's it for reports. We're up to recognition of visitors and hearing the people present. I'd like to take a moment to outline the guidelines for the public comment portion of our meeting. First and foremost, we value and welcome your input and feedback. We believe a collaborative relationship between our schools and the Rockford community is essential to achieving our shared goals. Public comment at the board meeting is intended to give the Rockford community an opportunity to address the board on issues in the Rockford Public Schools. At our meetings, the board and individual board members will not directly respond to comments or questions that arise during the public participation portion of the meeting. If a follow-up is needed, the superintendent will contact the speaker for additional insight or to provide clarification. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. This helps us accommodate as many speakers as possible and ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to express their views. Please be respectful in your comments and refrain from using inappropriate language or engaging in personal attacks. We want to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable expressing their opinions without fear of retribution or harassment. To ensure due process and respect for individual rights, the district maintains a formal process for handling complaints against individuals. If you have a problem involving an individual or a specific incident, we encourage you to consider addressing it through administrative channels by contacting the superintendent's office. Furthermore, we ask that speakers express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. While it is not our intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that if your statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, you may be held legally responsible. If you are unsure of the legal ramifications of what you're about to say, we urge you to consult first with your legal advisor. We encourage you to provide constructive feedback and suggestions for improvement. Your comments can help us identify areas where we can improve our schools and better serve our students and families. We thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts. We look forward to working together to ensure our schools continue to be a source of pride for our community. Lastly, please remember that public comment at our board meetings is one way we hear feedback from the community. It is certainly not the only way. Those who prefer other means to communicate often do so via email or through the district website or by calling the superintendent's office. Thank you for that, and we have 5 folks who signed up for public comment tonight. I see we've got our timer up. We'll start with Jennifer Kempa. If you could please step up to the podium for us.
It looks like a lot that I had to blow it up and double space it. I've recently learned that I need reading glasses. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen of the school board, I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. Not only do I come to you as a parent of 3 children in the district, I come to you as a graduate of Rockford High School, the daughter of an RHS graduate, and the granddaughter of a former RHS parapro at Valley View Elementary. 4 generations of my family have called Rockford home. I have watched this district and this board be repeatedly attacked, belittled, disrespected, and outright threatened by community members and even fellow members of the school board. I am here to say I will no longer be silent. The quality of education my father, myself, and my children have received is unparalleled in Kent County. In the 70 years my family has lived in the community, not a single child who went through the RPS system, and at this point there's been 9, has been groomed, taught inappropriate content, or participated in the teaching of inappropriate content. My original intent for speaking in front of the board today was to express my frustration with the frivolous, baseless lawsuit regarding removing library books from school libraries. Fortunately, a judge could see the lawsuit for what it was, a blatant pandering to those claiming to love the Constitution while simultaneously not understanding it, and dismissed it. Unfortunately, this won't be the last challenge this board has to face from internal and external stakeholders. However, please know there are more of us who support you and the mission of Rockford Public Schools than oppose you. The people and children of this district have always come in all shapes, sizes, colors, types. You name it, someone in this town is a member of that group. And as a public school system, Rockford owes it to those students to help them feel engaged, included, and safe. To the board members who understand this, thank you for your time, service, and dedication to all students who attend Rockford Public Schools. To those who do not, I pray your time on the board is short-lived and your damage is minimal. Thank you again for allowing me to speak before you today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Up next is Brenda Wadarski. Brenda here? No Brenda tonight, okay. Up next is Dr. Clara Zayeda, I'm sorry. Ziede.
Clara Ziede.
Claire, thank you for your help.
No worries, no worries. Good evening, everyone. Although the lawsuit regarding the pornographic books was dismissed, I would like to respond especially to Dr. Matthews' email. We can agree that students have a wide variety of needs and interests, as Dr. Matthews stated in the email that he sent out. However, he also stated that not every book is meant for every student. It's obvious that there are many different books suited for different students based on their age, maturity, interest, or personal struggles, as mentioned. But to us, the Bluest Eye book, as an example, is inappropriate for any minor to read, regardless of the experiences they have had in their lives outside of school. To admit that not every book will be of interest or appropriate for all students, but then to say none of the books on the shelves are unlawful or pornographic, as the lawsuit noted, sounds like you are doing the very least to protect the students from reading and seeing things that they should not be introduced to at a young and influential age. The example, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, that was mentioned in the lawsuit, is inappropriate for school-age kids, even though you brag that it is a book that has earned awards. As a mother of 3, 2 of which attend Rockford public schools, I would not want my kids to be exposed to a book that describes incestuous behavior, meaning sex between 2 people in a family who are very closely related, in great detail. This is not something that crosses the mind of a normal developing child. So to introduce this unlawful scenario may be doing more harm. If there are students who have been victims to this, the school district should work closely with them to provide them with the resources they need. This book can traumatize any student who has no knowledge of the fact that there are people who are in incestual relationships, and worst of all, grown adults who are in these relationships with minors, like the girl who was raped by her drunk father when she was only 11, in addition to the presence of more than one grown man behaving inappropriately with young girls. Dr. Matthews implies that some books may assist students who have experienced aspects of their lives that are unique. For a student who may have been a product of incest, or even in an inappropriate relationship with a family member, The Bluest Eye could be a book that they seek out on their own time outside of school. We don't have any control of what our kids read and do not check out from the library. As a summary, The Bluest Eye has sexual content, including but not limited to incest, pedophilia, a graphic description of a one married woman's distaste to her husband, and all description of the woman's affinity for masturbating with a pet in her lap. We want to have faith in the leadership here, so please protect our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next is Charles Curtis.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm going to read a little section from a book called The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. This is kind of a World War II era story, but it's a scene between Corrie and her dad. And so seated next to my father in the train compartment, I suddenly asked, "Father, what is sex sin?" He turned to look at me as he always did when answering a question, but to my surprise, he said nothing. At last he stood up, lifted his traveling case off the floor, and set it on the floor. "Will you carry it off the train, Corrie?" he said. I stood up and tugged at it. It was crammed with watches and spare parts he had purchased that morning. "It's too heavy," I said. "Yes," he said, "and it would be a pretty poor father who would ask his little girl to carry such a load. It's the same way with knowledge, Corrie. Some knowledge is too heavy for children. When you are older and stronger, you can bear it. For now, you must trust me to carry it for you." And I think there's a lot of wisdom here of protecting, a father protecting his child from things that are not appropriate at certain times in their life. And I think it's a lesson that we can, carry on to all different aspects of life. Carrying certain types of knowledge can be harmful to children. And it's a wise person, a wise father, a wise school board that will protect its children from things that are just too heavy. And schools now are more and more looking to institute social change as a part of their program, as opposed to academic subjects and excellence. And so the areas that creep in to this social change agenda can be very harmful. Environmentalism, for example, can cause fears in children that the world is going to disappear in 10 years. And so, and gender confusion can affect children and their self-concept and their self-image and their self-creation. These things are too heavy for children at a young age to carry and are much better dealt with later on. And we would be much better to focus on academics, on reading, writing, math, science, than to allow social change concepts to creep in to our purpose of education. Thank you.
Okay, last on the list tonight is Andrea Jacobson.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Matthews, and Central Office. There's an old proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. But what does that actually mean? It means family members, neighbors, friends, and teachers are supporting and nurturing our children together. It means providing our children with a school environment where they feel safe, supported, and cared for. It means friends and family who help out with getting your kids from A to B when you can't. It means principals who talk to your child and reassure them. It means teachers who take off their teacher hat and reach out and call you as a parent to talk about how your kid is doing. It means office secretaries who know your child and figure out are they actually sick or is there something else going on? It means our administration who provides a well-rounded education for our kids so they are prepared for life after high school. All of those people are valuable members of the village who help raise the students of Rockford. Thank you to Rockford Public Schools for being part of our family's village.
Thanks, Andrea. All right, we're on then to last item tonight, superintendent remarks. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Folsom. On Tuesday, November 7th, members of our community approved the renewal of our Parks and Recreation millage. In our school district, there are 21 separate precincts that vote in 15 polling places. Of those precincts, every precinct voted in favor of the Parks and Rec millage. Information was shared widely about the millage. Every home in our district received information about the millage, and everyone had a chance to vote. Overall, 72% of the voters approved the Parks and Rec millage, and I would like to thank the voters in the Rockford Public Schools for their votes and for their continued support of the Rockford Public Schools. Tuesday night is our next Developing Healthy Kids event. We are focused on students and addiction, and tomorrow Jason Vanderlaan is moderating a session on teens and drug addiction. It will be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Rockford High School Auditorium. And there will be the showing of a movie as well tomorrow night that deals with this topic, and it's very appropriate for parents who have middle or high school age students. I appreciate the feedback from our parents regarding issues that come before our district. I'm confident that our teachers have the best interests of our students in mind and make wise choices for our students. I've been in classrooms throughout the district and have found our teachers focusing on helping our students, helping students think through and think about difficult topics. I trust our teachers in their commitment to our students and know that they care deeply for our students. As Camille has mentioned, we had a tremendous fall here in Rockford. We have officially ended trimester 1 and have started trimester 2, and I'm pretty sure that Camille is already in countdown mode for trimester 3. And, But our district provides many opportunities for students, athletically, academically, and in the fine arts. And we're proud of what our district does to support families in our community. Most importantly, we're proud of what our district does to support and help our students. The lessons that we teach in the classroom, on our fields, in our gyms, and in our stages help our students learn and grow. And we look forward to what the winter and trimester 2 will bring for and with our students. And that's my report this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. And with that, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.